Hey YouTube. Today we're talking about the Walther PPK and 32 ACP or 765 Browning for those of you who use metric. But first, take this out. Alright. Walther PPK is Walther's basically shortened subcompact variant of their earlier Walther PP. Same caliber. Both blowback. Small pistols. Both of them are double action and single action with a safety decocker. And the PPK can also take the Walther PP magazine if you so wish. Though it does stick out, and for some reason this particular one, it likes to stick when trying to remove them. So I do not use it with the Walther PP magazines in it. They also have slightly different frames. The PP has a full metal backstrap to its frame. The PPK is just the plastic grip underneath of it is the hammer spring strut, so there's nothing protecting it as much. And you have to be careful with these grips because if you put too much pressure squeezing them on the back or hitting on the back, it will break these. So that's one thing to be aware of. And this particular PPK is supposedly Walther was experimenting with aluminum frames before World War II, and this happens to be one of those. And towards the end of the war, they started using aluminum frames again. I guess they had leftovers from back then. They just pulled out of a bin and made some PPKs out of those. And this particular PPK, I believe, is a war bring back private purchase PPK because it doesn't have any military markings on it at all, and I couldn't find any markings on the holster except for a ink stamp. Let's see if I can get the lighting to show it. That says PPK, but I didn't see any markings. But I think this is made by a company called Aka, or it's a type of holster called Aka. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'm not a holster expert. But I couldn't find any markings on it, like unit or dates or anything like that. So I think this might be a private purchase pistol. And from what I can gather from the serial number and some of the markings on it, let's see if I can get the camera to focus. If not, it probably won't. I don't know if you can see it, but the proof stamps right there are crown ends, which was what Germany was using before they adopted the Eagle N, which I think they started using in 1940. So judging from the serial and that proof stamp, that this particular PPK was made in either 1938 or 1939 or very, very early 1940. And this particular PPK has lived a very rough life, as you can tell. I don't know if this damage is from the previous owner, or if the guy that carried it in World War II was pretty rough with it. But I think most of this is just holster wear, just from being stored in the holster for a really long time. But I don't know about the damage on the magazine. It's still functional, just a bit rough. I'll show you disassembly. It's just like the Walther PP and most other blowback pistols. Just, well, I might do this off screen. Oh yeah, trigger guard. Unlike my PP, this one actually likes to stay. Sorry, I just woke up, so I'm a little slow today and also not feeling too well. In case you're wondering about the discoloration, the type of aluminum it's made of is called dural, and supposedly it has high copper contents. That's probably why it has that slight gold hue. Of course, I could be talking out my ass, but I think that's the reason why it's got that color. But it's an old aluminum that was used back in the early 20th century. It's used a lot in airplanes and stuff like that. Let's see if I can get this together on screen. I probably can't. Oh, good, I can. Another thing to be aware of, if you have larger hands, the hammer can bite the web of your hand if you're not careful. Especially on recoil, it might push it back, and it could pinch your web of your hand in between the hammer and the frame. That's why more modern PPKs have the extended beaver tail to prevent that from happening. But with smaller hands, it's not as much of an issue. Oh, yes. Be easier to put the magazine in to show you this part. The PPK also has a loaded chamber indicator. This little pin that pops out. So as around the chamber, this little pin will stick out, so you can tell from up here, like from looking at it and also just touching it, there's around the chamber. Though I don't know if this one is supposed to have a spring in here that must make that go back in, because even if I drop it with around the chamber, it will still stick out. So that's something I had to be aware of. So I don't know if it's supposed to be a spring in there, supposed to return it, or if that's just by design that it does that. You can also tell early PPKs by the look of the front right here. It's like where it's got this slight chop instead of a slope like the modern ones. So when you see like it looks like it's just goes straight and then down, you can tell it's an early PPK or the Zelamelis, I think I'm pronouncing it rightly. It's the original Walther plant before it got taken over by the Soviets at the end of the war, and then subsequently East Germany. I will show the trigger. Of course, it's heavy on double action, but it's relatively smooth. And the reset is very short, and the trigger pull is also very light with little take up, like most Walthers. Of course, you also got a lanyard loop if you want to put that on there. And of course, the sight picture, as I showed, it's there. It's not great. Show a comparison between this and the PP again. They may look like a PP is a little bit bigger. I mean, it is bigger, but it's not that much bigger than a PPK. Just one more round, I believe. I think this is 8 and this is 7. Not including an extra round in the chamber if you want to top off. But the PPK is kind of became one of my, like, slowly became my primary carry gun lately. I found it's actually very convenient to carry this pistol around. I mean, yeah, I'm carrying a relic around pretty much, and it's a 32. I mean, 32 is not the most powerful cartridge in the world, but it's a lot more convenient to carry, and I'd rather carry this than not carry anything at all. And 32 is a lot more pleasant to shoot than 383. It's like more snap. The 32 is kind of like shooting like a really hot 22 to me. So I'm going to move this back over here. And there is PPKs we made today, not the PPKS's, but actual PPKs we made today in the United States. Though they're not the same level of quality as the original PPKs. Especially the blued one. It's like a matte black blue. It looks like it's like just a flat blue. It's just black. It looks kind of like an airsoft gun. And of course, it has the extended beaver tail on it. So it looks... I always thought the extended beaver tails on PPKs look kind of goofy. But the market demands an extended beaver tail so people don't pinch their hands on this. So that's what the market gets. And more people have bigger hands than I do, so... their comfort in shooting is far more important than my aesthetical tastes. But anyway, thanks for stopping by today, and hope you have a great day.